Today is lesson number 4, right? The sprint mini version of the Get to the Root of Your Symptoms course. So this week so far, we've covered three very important short lessons that can help you better connect with your body, better connect with the root of your symptoms, so that you can get unstuck on your healing journey. Because I've met with so many people struggling with the same symptoms and health issues for a long time, and it just feels like a whack-a-mole game where you fix one thing and then something else pop up, and it's just really exhausting and tiring when it's the case, and you keep looking for answers, and you never get to the bottom of it. And usually the reason why is because we're still at the most superficial level, looking at the symptoms and the what's happening in the physical body, which is only the tip of the iceberg, and not long looking at what's going on under the surface of the water, where the roots of our physical health issues and symptoms truly are. So my name is Aglaé Jacob, or you can call me AJ. I'm your non-diet dietitian, heart and soul nutritionist, self-love guide, and the author of this book and cookbook called Digestive Health with Real Food, which is on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and chapters in Canada and all of those common places where you can buy books online, and even in some of your local stores as well. You can just check and you might find it there. So today I wanted to talk about emotional eating, overeating, and cravings, because too often I see people that know how important food and nutrition is to manage their symptoms and improve their health, but then they often end up sabotaging themselves because they just eat too much of certain foods. They have an irresistible cravings that is, always there, tempting them to go and eat some sugar or whatever food they're cravings. Or there might be emotional eating going on. So whenever there's something happening in our life, and whatever form of stress, and for most of us, stress happens, it shows up in our life on a daily basis, when then food becomes what they turn to distract themselves, numb themselves, reward themselves, or whatever the cause is. But what happens when we do that is that, that we can end up eating too much of certain foods, and or eating foods that are not necessarily agreeing with our body, and that can set us back on our healing journey. So why do we sabotage ourselves in that way? The answer is not necessarily to just, just, resist your cravings. Stop overeating, or stop emotionally eating. That's not as simple as that. There's a root that goes way deeper than that, because we don't need to look only at the root of our health issues and symptoms, but also the root of the certain the toxic behaviors that are preventing us from healing, those behaviors that are a barrier to our healing, including overeating, those irresistible cravings, and emotional eating as well. So I wanted to share something with you that I saw recently on social media. I'm not sure if, yeah, I think this is gonna work. Okay. About a little infographic about how to manage emotional eating, which can also be applied to, desire to overeat, or struggling with any kind of food cravings. And I agree with about half of it, and the other half I don't agree with so much, because again, it's staying at a very superficial level and not really addressing the root cause. So let's see. Okay. Well, that might be a little bit difficult to see, but on one side it asks, if you notice that urge to eat, or that you're overeating, or that you're eating your emotions, the first step, it says to take a deep breath. So I agree with that. We all need to slow down and pause and really reconnect with our body, and just see what's happening. So let's do it. Take a big breath. And then step 2, it says, ask yourself, am I hungry? So once you've slowed down and paused and took a big breath, it's a bit easier to connect with your body and think, is it really hunger, or is it something else? So if you feel a physical hunger, it says the third step is to eat mindfully by checking in with your hunger cues, choosing something that feels good to you, and just paying attention to what is going on in your body. So for that part, I agree, this is pretty on point, because for many people struggling with overeating, emotional eating, cravings, it can be because they're simply under eating and their body is starving. So if it's the case, we really need to honor the body and nourish our body. But on the other side, if you're not hungry, it says to ask yourself, what am I feeling? How am I feeling? And then the second question is, am I willing to self-soothe? And then if it says no, again, you're kind of stuck there. There's nothing else to do if you're not willing to self-soothe. But if you say yes, it gives you a bunch of options here, like read a book, play music, draw, have a cup of tea, take a bath, call a friend, practice deep breathing. So what do you think of that? If you are having some cravings, you're in the middle of eating your emotions, and you take a big breath, you realize you're not hungry, you realize that it's connected to some things that are going on in your life, some forms of stress, that you're having some feelings and emotions that are difficult for you to deal with. And then the question is, are you willing to self-soothe? So what this self-soothing means, to me, it's again just putting a band-aid on the problem. It's just distracting yourself, numbing yourself with another mean than food. It is just pushing the real problem under the carpet, so to speak. Does that make sense? So I'm not a fan of self-soothing. I know this is something, this infographic comes from an organization that I really highly respect, but I do think that we're still not going deep enough when we do that. Of course, there's a lot of mindfulness in there, which I love, but then there's still a lot of avoidance of our feelings and really looking at the root of the problem. And I know this is scary, and this is probably not what most people want to do. But if we can only allow ourselves to feel those feelings and emotions that are causing us to want to eat more or eat certain foods, that's where a lot of healing really happens. If we can just learn to sit with that, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't have to sit with those uncomfortable or quote unquote negative emotions for hours. Just give yourself 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I promise that if you can really connect with your heart and your feelings and emotions for 3 minutes, you'll see those shifts naturally. Our emotions are just messengers, and they just want us to pay attention to them. So let's try not to numb and distract ourselves, because that leads to even more toxic habits and self-sabotaging behaviors. So what if the next time you notice you have cravings, you want to eat your emotions, or you want to overeat, or whether it's before, in the middle of it, or after the fact that you notice, try to breathe, and instead of looking for something else to distract yourself with or self-soothe, um, just feel it. Feel it. You're grown up. You can do this. I know it's not necessarily easy and it's scary. I've been there myself. I'm expert at doing all of these toxic habits and overeating and emotional eating and binge eating and having cravings all day long. I know it is scary, but try it. If 3 minutes seems too long, try 30 seconds and see what happens. You'll see that when we really allow ourselves to feel those emotions, they change on their own, and eventually they dissipate and go away. And there's a lot of healing, deep healing, that can happen as a result of that. I cannot tell you, and I cannot emphasize enough how big of a part it played in my own healing of the many health issues I've suffered with, including digestive issues, PCOS, which is a hormonal imbalance that is #1 cause of infertility in women. I've also dealt with an eating disorder called binge eating disorder. So for me, it was so key to learn how to feel my emotions. So I hope this was helpful to you. This was lesson 4. Stay tuned for tomorrow. Lesson 5 is coming up. Talk to you soon. Bye. Oh, I forgot. I really wanted to do this. I love it. Bye.